And we are live. It's your favorite insurance agents, Darnold Jr. and
Michelle DeSalle, the Wealth Tattletale.
And we are in the same location, two different cameras. So we're testing out new things.
We're fancy.
Moving on up now. So if this is your first time watching the show, this is a show about financial literacy where we educate you about anything personal finance related. And today we have two gurus. Oh my gosh, we're so honored and blessed to have them on our show. So let's go ahead and dive in and get lit. I'm actually going to have Michelle introduce these two gentlemen because she's the closest to them.
Well, all right. Well, today we have in the studio the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry Brooks, a phenomenal man. Hello, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And next we have another phenomenal man, Mr. Rick Davis. He is also a real estate guru, and he has availed himself today. Thank you so much, friend. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So today, our topics, we have two topics because I just wanted to give them all the gems that I could at one time because I know I may not always get you guys in the same room because you're both doing such great things. So we have two topics today. One is wealth building strategies, and we're going to pick your brain, Rick. And the other is optimizing your brand. And I don't see anybody doing it better than the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry Brooks. So, Larry, tell us who you are and what you've been doing.
Okay. Well, I'm Larry W. Brooks, aka the Texas Real Estate King. My first business was real estate. I started in it about 20 years ago. I am currently a serial entrepreneur, and I love building brands. And so over the last 20 years, I've had an amazing opportunity to build different brands and just kind of live off of the things that those brands have allowed me to do. So thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be a part of the show.
Awesome. All right, Rick. So when we talk about wealth building strategies, I mean, you put some great things in my ear, and I need to share this with the world. So tell us who you are and what you've been up to.
How you doing? I'm Rick Davis, a realtor, real estate professional for more than 15 years. And for the last 4 years, I've been the founder and the host of the Prime Real Estate Network podcast. On that podcast, Mr. Brooks and I share different ideas with the audience. We also introduce them to different movers and shakers like yourself in and around the real estate and entrepreneurship community in Greater Houston and the state of Texas.
Ooh, I know they're not ready, but we gotta make them ready. So when it comes to wealth strategies, there's so much to know and so much to learn. But you had a particular way of spilling these gems with real estate. How can one become wealthy? Give us those strategies by buying their first property, Rick.
You know, it's amazing. And I thank you so much for giving me some time to share this information with your audience. In the United States of America, when you do research into those that have become millionaires and billionaires in this country, there's always a foundation of real estate ownership and investment when you look through anyone's investment history and their investment portfolio. So when I'm in and around the greater Houston area and all over the world, what I try to educate, especially those who aren't currently real estate or property owners, is how that is the first step to closing the wealth gap and putting themselves on the road to being as successful financially as they could even think of in their wildest dreams. Because there are very few opportunities you have in this country to actually have lending institutions and banks invest in you to give you the power to invest in your own future. And with real estate, that's something that I try to make sure everyone that I come in contact with understands.
Yes, indeed. So if a young up and coming bought their first property, how are they to use that property to start stacking their wealth? Rick, give some pointers.
Well, it's really a lot more cut and dry than a lot of people would think in the audience who may not necessarily be as experienced investing in residential real estate. So with my first time buyers, I always give them the analogy of if we're not quite sure where the optimal wealth gain is in a particular area, follow the biggest corporations, because normally those with the biggest investments have gone through the most due diligence to make sure there's a return. So for all those first-time buyers that are ready, willing, and able, I try to make sure I educate them as far as the most desirable master plan communities, some of the most desirable up-and-coming neighborhoods where the Fortune 500 companies, the corporate builders, those that are investing hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate development on an annual basis, where they are betting and where they're investing their dollars. And I try to allow those first-time buyers to follow suit and invest in those same up-and-coming communities.
Ooh, now, that's a lot of great information. And I'm certain that it's falling on ears and people thinking, oh my God, I wish I would have known that. I wish somebody would have told me that. That's why we're doing what we're doing, because we're trying our best to get this information to our community. And I'm just elated that you guys are availing your brains. That's what you're doing. You're lending us your brain tonight.
Right. No, and I'm sure Mr. Brooks will speak to the same thing, because I had a early foundation working for real estate developers as well as he has. So we were able to see on the other side of that curtain, from a dollars and cents perspective, why certain large publicly traded builders operate and invest in the areas they operate in. So now that we're out serving the community, I just share that same behind the scenes information with the public.
Great. So, Larry, started in real estate, bills, and now you are a serial entrepreneur. Now, I see you doing some amazing things, but the one thing that you even shared this with me because I shared your platform on your show before. No matter what you do, Michelle, always end up going back to the book. So you have streams of ways that you earn, and the way that it's just phenomenal. Talk to me about that brand optimization.
You know, that's a great question. I think that initially when I started off at it was just me doing what it is that I love. And that was being face-to-face, marketing, shaking hands, being a connector. You know, a lot of times I tell people that I believe in relationship currency, because that was kind of like my first start. Just building relationships, and those relationships allowed me to own a nightclub when I was in college, throw parties when I was in college, that allowed me to level up and have a network of people that if there was any product, anything that I was ever selling or marketing or putting out, they were willing to get behind me and be soldiers with me, or be leaders with me to help me push out those products. And so a lot of people don't know I actually have a degree in marketing from Stephen F. Austin University. So it's amazing that in my real estate career that I first started out in, is some of these gems that I picked up in marketing are some of the same tools that I use. And most of those real solid gems just come back to being face-to-face, you know, going out and being a part of networking events. When I first started building our brands, one of the things that I did is I was out in the community or out at networking events 7 days a week. Well, I'll say 6, 7 including church, because I didn't give church a pass. I felt like everyone needed to know what I did when I was at Sunday school as well. So I most definitely, poured into that as well. So for me, just building out a brand that has given me an opportunity to author 4 books up to this point is just the steps of growth that you see throughout your career, right? Like, being in the entrepreneur space over 25 plus years, there's just growth steps that you come in contact with that allow you to build one business that leads into a vision of another business, that leads into the vision of clothing lines and different things that will allow you just to continue to scale. And so for me, that's been a blessed part of my entrepreneurial growth.
Wow. That college campus is so valuable to us.
It is.
In ways that people could not imagine. You should never go through a college campus and not optimize those connections and those skill sets. And so you built on that, and that's powerful. Don't you think, Donald?
Absolutely.
Donald, and one of the things because I saw the episode, Donald, when you talked about your journey of going through college, because I almost went to Baylor myself. I ended up getting money from Stephen F., so I didn't end up at Baylor. But Baylor was an opportunity for me. But one of the things that I always tell people is if you're going to choose to go to college, the networks and the relationship currencies that you get from being at a university is really the strongest tool that you'll get. Yeah, you get some book knowledge, but the relationships, the hands, the people that you really come in contact with is the gate is either going to be future gatekeeper, the leaders that can help your business explode, or they're going to be the type of people that are going to go out and be the leaders that can bring you in, that can help your business grow as well. So that's the most valuable thing at a university.
Absolutely. I hear that a lot of times people send their kids to school to learn about a trade or two, but I hear the rich people send their kids to school to find out who they're going to hire.
Hey,
Absolutely.
hey, I'm still in that trend. Then I'm going for that. My kids going to school to do exactly that. Then.
Absolutely.
So, Larry, when people start their first business, sometimes they marry that concept. Talk about the courage that it takes to actually branch out and try something new.
Yeah. The thing is that if you once you get into this business, if you do it the right way, you're going to see the national progression of you not staying in the exact same role, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to see that when I first started in real estate, I started off just like every other realtor, helping people buy, sell, and invest in properties, right? Then I found myself in one area where I just focused on people that was looking to buy. I got a partnership with Michael Davis, with Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm, the co-owner, and he focused on the listing side of it. And then next thing you know, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of showing people property. How can I duplicate myself? And you find if you're really truly want to have a vision of not just being an entrepreneur, but wanting to be a small business owner, then you actually grow out of those smaller steps, or not smaller steps, but I would say team building steps, right? You start to build a team of people that you trust around you that eventually allow you to leverage up. And then I find it to be a compliment when you're able to start another business based off of some of the things that you were very good at with your first business. So it's just a natural progression. I think that if you are an entrepreneur, you start your first business, once you learn it inside and out and you start to scale, you're going to find that you have to add people. You have to trust people. And once you start to trust people, you're going to continue to trust people in different business ventures. Like, you come in contact with people like Rick. Rick is also one of my fraternity brothers from Stephen F. Austin. And so we first had our first business together was actually the nightclub in college. And so after that, I got into real estate. Shortly after that, Rick got into real estate as well. And one of the things is that whenever he comes to me with any kind of idea of the podcast, the Prime Real Estate Network, his baby, he allowed me to be a part of that. And that vision has allowed us to grow in different areas and allow us to start new brands as well. So it's just, you got to be open-minded to grow with other people. That's the best way to scale. That's the quickest way to get to wealth as well. You can't do it all by yourself.
I'm so glad that you said that. That is so powerful, because I want to ask Rick, when we talk about visionary, you guys were young visionaries. How does one cultivate the visionary within themselves?
It's great that you asked that question, because I've known Larry for so long that the way his mind works to me isn't foreign. But when you ask that question, it takes me back to when we were a lot younger, 18, 19, and 20 years old. And one of the things that now I can appreciate is the fact that as a group, we were all open-minded and non-judgmental. It's funny because as far as marketing degrees and what we studied in school, I studied marketing as well. And when I first met Larry, some of the things that he was more apt to do from a marketing perspective, the techniques that he was willing to use were a lot different and were newer than some of the things that we had been doing before I had a chance to meet him. And what happens is, after a while, if you're open-minded around your social circle, your sphere of influence, those trusted confidants, you'll realize that there are so many gems from a business perspective that you have in your close circle. And as long as everyone is open-minded and are willing to hear each other out, pull in a similar direction, you'll be surprised that there are so many things that you can just glean from each person that you're already around. And just that positive energy of creativity and uniqueness and stick-to-itiveness is something that I think that if everybody just looked around, you wouldn't have to venture too far to find that type of energy.
That's excellent. So this is a question for both of you guys. What's something that you know now that you wish you would have known when you were 18, 19, starting that nightclub together, diving into real estate? We'll start with Larry.
You know, the funny thing is this. This is one thing that I wish I had known now, because I'll be honest. 20 plus years ago, mentorship and coaching, those were not concepts. Those were not things that you really visibly saw. Me and Rick had an opportunity to sit down with Harlan Brooks. Harlan Brooks had he was a barbecue guy, and he just built out his wealth through barbecue. And at that time, I wish I had known the right questions to ask him. I wish I had known, the systems that I needed to put in place that have allowed me to get closer to financial freedom at this point. And so I would honestly say that. And then one other thing, I wish I had known about the stock market. Had I known about the stock market, I would have invested in that thing right after school and the things that I would have known. So yeah, that's what I
compound the interest, right?
Yeah.
And Rick, how about you?
And I thank you so much for asking me that question. I've given that question a lot of thought over the years, and the answer that I always come back to is I think about the great actor Lawrence Fishburne. He used to be in a movie called Boys in the Hood back in the day. I don't know if everyone remembers that movie.
I remember that.
But it was a very powerful scene where he talked to not only his son, but his son's friends about investing in real estate and gentrification. And how the neighborhood where you may reside, even though television may tell you it's undesirable, even though when you go outside, it may not look like the utopia that you have in your imagination, but investing in your own neighborhoods, investing in your own people. If I had been able to take heed to that advice from the great Lawrence Fishburne in 1993 or 94, no telling where Larry and myself will be right now. So when you ask me that question, I always go back to that scene in the movie Boys in the Hood.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rick, that's a great point. Because whenever I see that scene at this point, it just hits home. I think about Third Ward in Houston, Texas. I think about Sunnyside here in Houston, Texas. All of the communities where I laid my head at as a child. And Lawrence Fishburne gave us a layup to what that vision would have looked like right now. He said all of the terms that we currently use in society in 1993. Wow.
Wow. He's a prophet.
I'm telling you, this is just, I just feel like a kid in a candy store right now, having you guys here and being so transparent and freely giving this insight. One of the things that's important to me now is that some of us are learning concepts, a little bit later than our counterparts. Knowing these things now and implementing them the best we can at whatever level. I want you to shed some light on making people feel good about that. It's not too late to start somewhere. Right. So I want to start, that same question for the both of you. So Larry, will you start?
Yeah, I'll take that on. The one of the blessed things in my career has been a real estate broker. I'm also a real estate recruiter for Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm. And so I have an opportunity to go to Champion School of Real Estate on a consistent basis. And I see different generations, different age ranges of people starting a new career, right? I see 60-year-olds. I see people that are 29 years old, people that are 18 years old that are getting into the real estate field. And one of the things that I'm always able to say is that it's never too late to learn something new, to switch up a concept, and most definitely be open-minded. One thing in life, if we're always teachable and coachable, there's nothing that we can't take on. Myself, I've been in the entrepreneur field for 30 plus years, right? And one of my most learning times took place in 2020 when we had the pandemic, when we were forced to stay in front of our TVs or social media. I learned so many new concepts, not only about my business and how to scale my business quicker through watching YouTube University, as we call it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that but I also had an opportunity to meet people on YouTube that I've had an opportunity to actually meet in person. There's a couple of guys that do this Earn Your Leisure thing. I had an opportunity of meeting them, a good friend of mine, Chris Senegal. And so I really had an opportunity to meet people down to earth that has allowed me to even scale my portfolio when it comes to my real estate investment. Now, you would think this guy's been in real estate his entire life. What more can he know or not learn about it? Well, there's things that I just don't know. Development in some cases was not my strong suit, but I had an opportunity to be open, to be teachable and coachable, and I've learned development, right? I've had an opportunity to be teachable and coachable, and I've learned how to do stocks and focus on how to level up in other businesses as well. But it's never too late for you guys to go out and explore. We're too young. We're not too late until, until they're saying the prayer is over us, right? It's not too late. Let's go.
Fantastic answer. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, it's just this conversation as a whole just takes me back to one of the ideas that Larry introduced earlier in the interview, and it comes down to relationship currency. So everyone in your audience, I want to talk to them and urge them to start developing relationships with banks and financial institutions. Now, for those in the audience who may be unfamiliar or have not had the opportunity to start developing these relationships, I would urge them to start with the bank where you have a checking account. Simple as that. If you can go in your wallet, your purse, and find a debit card from a bank where you have a checking account, savings account, go into the branch. Start developing relationships with the branch manager, those that are in charge of lending and loans, because these institutions would love to invest in their customers. And having those type of relationships open up the doors to investing in real estate and any other thing that you feel like you would want to invest in to help better you and your family's future. So if you have an account with a credit union, if you have a car payment and the bank that you pay is a credit union, the fact that you have a card payment that goes through that credit union, 9 times out of 10, you automatically become a member and can enjoy all those member benefits. So first things first, if you're just apprehensive or you have anxiety about going in and talking to a bank manager or a lender, just start off where you have something as basic as a checking or savings account. Give them a call, set up an appointment, and you'll be surprised how excited they would be to have you come in and talk to you about all the different products and services they can provide.
Thanks. Wow.
So we actually have a couple of questions from the audience. So let's go ahead and share some of them. So Rochelle says, if parents don't know much about the real estate or stocks, how can they educate them, and how soon is too soon?
So I'll take this on, right? I don't think that there's a process of it ever being too soon. I think it starts with a conversation. And so even before introducing them to that or introducing your kids to that, I say one of the things you want to introduce them, you want to strengthen their mindset, right? So one of the things that I have a 16-year-old son. And so one of the things that I've done over the years that he and I spend time together, instead of jamming the radio when we're driving, we're either listening to an audiobook or we're talking about different mindsets of belief, right? I need him to believe that anything that he desires, anything that is in his mindset he's open to being teachable and coachable about, he can learn, right? And so for what he gets to see from dad, he gets to see dad play with his stock portfolio. He gets to see when I invest in certain properties or projects that's taking place here in the city of Houston, I'll drive by those projects and I say, son, we got ownership in there. And then this is what that looks like. How does that look, Dad? What is that? What you mean we own that, Dad? Okay, let me tell you about that. Let me tell you about, and so I think that it's a soft touch when it comes to that. But if you're a parent and you're not as versed in it yourself, get onto YouTube University and let's start to get ready to share. And please feel free to DM me or text me, and I'll give the details on how it is that I use it, the systems that I use. But most definitely, it has to be done. We can't avoid it.
Absolutely. And that's the purpose of this show, is we want to educate people about how to do that.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat. We'll share it. We do have another question. How can they educate their children? So I think that's about the same.
Yeah, so Roy has a question.
Yep. Roy has a question about cryptocurrency. Is it possible we can also hustle and take risks with crypto?
Who has that one, guys? I don't know which one to direct that question to.
I mean,
Well,
you
go
could
ahead,
you can
Larry.
handle it, Rick.
Well, as far as, and once again, it always boils down to educating yourself and doing your due diligence. One of the things, being part of several investment groups that I'm involved in, is that the the more together, the more you communicate with an investment group, it allows you to be able to mitigate the risk. In all
Mm,
investments, it's always about the risk factor and how much you want to expose yourself. So for something as new as crypto, or something that people may not necessarily be as versed about, I would urge everyone to do their due diligence and find some larger investment groups where you could pool with other like-minded investors, whereas you don't necessarily feel the anxiety of being exposed to 100% of the risk of something that can be as volatile as crypto and or stocks. So once again, go and get on the Discourse app, do some research, check out some things on YouTube, or even just straight put it in the Google machine, and you'll be surprised how much education there is and how many groups there are of like-minded investors who all feel that same anxiety as far as risk exposure and betting their entire nest egg on one particular investment.
I'm so glad that you said that because it is so very important to assess your risk tolerance
Yes.
level. Because
Yes.
if you don't, and you have all those eggs in one basket, you better hope you got a couple of Fabergé eggs in that basket.
Absolutely.
You know, and it, yeah, never put all your eggs in one basket. It's just something you shouldn't do. But one of the things that I will always say is they have this term that's called dollar cost averaging, and you should do that in everything, right? You should dollar cost average when it comes to stock. You know, if you're doing real estate stuff, you got to take that into consideration. But you know, one of the things that you most definitely should never that you should most definitely set a budget to the side for is educating yourself. I don't care if you have a job that's a 9 to 5 job. Find a way to educate yourself when it comes to spending money, going to conferences. One of my secret sauces when I was first building our businesses is that I attend conferences. I always attend conferences because I'm meeting people there that are willing to share gems with me that maybe I can't find in my local market, or maybe my local market don't know about it, right?
Yeah.
So I want to say that you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your knowledge. You have to invest in being around the right people. And sometimes that's where you make those connections that Rick was talking about. That's where you may meet those people that you can find that'll be like-minded, that's willing to share you some, be willing to share different dreams or different gems that they're doing that has been successful with them, and be open-minded to it. Like, I mean, and be really transparent, right? If I'm taking some gems or some secrets from somebody, I want you to be transparent. I want you to show me what it looks like. You might have to show me a couple of digits in the bank account for me to see the division is
Right.
real. But you know what I mean? If it's real, you ain't got a problem with it. That's just my thought.
Talk about it. Talk about it, Larry.
I love it. I love it. So we have a couple more questions.
Absolutely.
How much money should we have to begin investing in real estate? Ooh.
Oh, well, it goes back to the one of the previous questions, and it talks about there is no set amount. You can go to several what they call real estate investment trusts. They have different investment companies where they'll point you in a direction where, let's say you have something as a small of amount as $5,000. They will show you groups where they're allowing people to invest that sum of money to join a larger collective. Once you are able to get some experience, see how you enter the marketplace, how you go about exiting, your exit strategies, how profits are divvied up, then at that point, you'll have not only a larger nest egg, but you'll have the education and the experience behind you, where then you may be able to make a larger investment independently or go on a solo venture. But if the resources and the funds are something that you're considering that you may feel like would keep you from getting involved in the investment industry, start off with a group of like-minded investors that'll allow you to get in with a minimum initial investment. Once you see that that group is moving forward in a fashion that you feel comfortable with, then over time you can start investing a bit more and become more vested. And before you know it, you'll be like Mr. Brooks, investing in large multifamily development.
Called
Hey.
out.
But being in the real estate field, that's a very common question that we always get. How much do you need? And the thing is it varies, right?
Definitely.
Now that I'm aware of what REITs are, real estate investment trusts, sometimes I'm like, maybe you want to start there as you do your research, right? A lot of times when you think about it, I remember Carlton Sheets, right? This guy back in the days, a lot of y'all too young to remember Carlton Sheets, but he was one of the very first late night shows that would come on TV and talk about getting into real estate with no money, right? Yes. I didn't understand what that concept means, but now that's a version of wholesaling. It's basically saying you go out, you get a contract. That's a way of getting into real estate investment with no monies. But here's the thing. Everything is going to cost something. So you got to at least pay the money to get the knowledge in order to understand how it actually works for that system to work for you. So, it just depends on what level of real estate you want to financially get in at. But like Rick said, I think that partnerships is the quickest way. So you may be a person that's able to be a wholesaler. You might not financially have the money, but you have friends that have the money. That's kind of how that would work for you too. So I agree with Rick on that.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so full. I know the audience is just so pleased. People just asking questions and we can't get to all of them, but just allow me to say that I'm just glad I know y'all, right?
Hey, you are a friend, no doubt about it.
Definitely.
But that you would, grace us with all of this knowledge. I'm just so tickled pink tonight. I love you guys for this. This is amazing.
Thank you, Queen.
What we doing next? Can we get another question, or do we just have to say bye?
I'm full too. I think that was amazing. Y'all dropped so many nuggets of wisdom, and where the rubber meets the road is application, right?
Yes.
Like you can hear great information, but if it goes in one ear and out the other, then it's not going to change your financial future.
Right.
But if you actually take what these guys are talking about and apply it to your life, that's when you're going to go to the next level. That's when you're going to level up in your financial house. So we appreciate you for dropping gems and help us build our financial house. And how can people get in contact with you? We'll start with Rick.
Well, everyone out there, I want to thank you for sharing your platform with us, Dr. Michelle and Darnell. If you're in the audience, you'd like to reach me directly, you can reach me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Rick. Once again, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in residential or commercial real estate, please reach out to me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Rick. And I look forward to speaking with you.
Excellent. And Larry, how about you?
Yes, indeed. I also like to say thank you all so much for having us on the show. For those of you that may be new viewers, new listeners, you want to go back and look at some of the past episodes. I tell you what, it's amazing. I've had an opportunity to go look at some of the past episodes, and the guests have been gem droppers. So you can go back there and start your financial education right there. And then if you have any questions or resources, or ever need any resources that I offer, you can go to LarryWBrooks.com. I do free consultations. You can also follow me on IG, on Instagram. Now, again, I enjoy life, right? I've been blessed to have an affordable life to do the things that I want to do. So I go and I have a good time, but feel free to reach out to me. And of course, my cell phone number is 281-924-4954. Feel free to text me at any time and I'll reach back out to you. But I do appreciate being a part of the platform. And I always want to be an open book for anyone that's out there.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Well, we appreciate you guys for taking time out your busy schedules to be on the show. And you guys dropped so many nuggets. Like, I have so many shorts I could create out of this one little episode. So I hope you guys continue to prosper and have amazing success.
Hang out in the waiting room for us. Hold on a minute, okay? Don't run away too quick.
Yep.
Hang out in the studio with us a little bit.
Absolutely. So if y'all got any gems out of today, go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And we love, if you got any value, share this with all your friends and family, because these are nuggets that could literally change their life if they actually apply it. Once again, that's where the rubber meets the road. And so with that,
tell them where they can find you, Darnell.
They can find me at Darnell Jr. on YouTube. They can find me at Darnell Jr. on Instagram, on Snapchat, or on LinkedIn. Like, literally, my brand is Darnell Jr. I have darnelljr@gmail.com. And so my website is www.darnelljr.com. But you can also find us at finlitlive.com. So find the show. You could go directly to the YouTube show. So how can they find you, Doctor?
You can find me on Instagram, Michelle DeSel, the Wealth Tattletale. You can also find me at www.centricadvisor.com. Thank you very much.
Yes. So I'd just like to give a shout out to a gentleman. I actually met him when I was working, and he shouted out our show. We got like 50
Yeah, I remember
subscribers. So for
that.
those that are tuning in from his show, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to our episode. And if you are hungry for knowledge and like to grow, I'm just naturally curious. That's why I start the show, because I have more questions than answers. Go ahead and subscribe to this show, and we are going to drop a lot of gems in the future. We have a lot of great episodes lined up for you guys. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in and getting lit.